Good morning.
Good
Welcome.
morning. Good morning. So today is March 23rd, Sunday, March 23rd,
And we're back. We're
2025.
back. We're back. And I'm
We're
so
back.
sorry that we missed last week. We had trouble with our Zoom and just a number of problems all came together at the same time, a perfect confluence of problems. So, but we're here back again and we're delighted to be here. We're delighted you're here.
And our topic today is planting your intentions, or one might say planting your dreams. And we're using this metaphor of planting. It is an age-old, going back 100 years at least, metaphor for how the science of mind works. And I know many of you have heard this, but if you're like me, and I've only been in it 50 years, you need reminding. Because we get so involved in just trying to solve our own problems, the way humans do, that we forget there is a power in the universe that is greater than we are, and we can use it. And the perfect metaphor to how to use it is the seed planted in the soil and the resulting plant. And it's, as I say, at least 100 years old, but it's perfect because uh, when I first learned this Science of Mind 1 studies, I was able to manifest miracles one after the other, largely to do with health, but also selling a house, getting a new house. And I was just amazed at the effectiveness of this wonderful system of using the power that is spirit that we are a part of. And in fact, we had been using it all along, but usually against ourselves, and we didn't know it. By worrying and focusing on what we feared and what we didn't want, we were creating more of that.
So when we talk about seed, soil, plant, what we mean, the seed is the intention. So you plant the intention in the soil of consciousness, and then you don't dig it up every 2 or 3 hours. And you don't.
Say, is it working?
Yeah,
Is it playing? Is it
and
growing?
when you bury that intention into consciousness, you then don't go back and wonder, is it still there? What do I need to do? But you allow it and you water it by affirming that it's a done deal, that it's going to happen, that it's already happened. In fact, when we plant a seed, we don't plant any seed ever in the garden with the hope it will grow. We believe when we plant the seed, we're going to get flowers or we're going to get vegetables or we're going to get whatever. If we didn't believe that, we wouldn't plant the seed.
Well, wait, that's a good point. Because when you plant your intention with the expectation that it will come to blossom, come to
To fruition.
fruition,
Yeah.
you do so very specifically. You don't plant a flower seed if you want a vegetable to grow.
Oh my God, I didn't know
So,
that.
so we have to be very specific with what we want, uh, and and yet be very what's the word I'm looking for? Flexible with the results, because often we say this or something better, because you can actually limit your demonstration or manifestation by saying, I want specifically this color, this size, etc. And you can be limiting your good. So you stay flexible with the result, but still expecting it, expecting good.
Now, when the seed is the intention, the soil is consciousness. If you've ever looked at the soil around you, sometimes the soil needs more water than others. Some soil needs more tending, but you don't dig up the seed. Tending means that if it's a dry area, it's been dry for a long time, then the level of affirmation, the level of encouragement, the level of support that you give in consciousness changes the consciousness to help that then grow the seed. If we so often plant the seed and then we're afraid it won't grow. And what we water the soil with is fear. And we don't mean to, but I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to get it. I don't know if it's ever going to work. And I'm excited personally. I love raisins, and I've told you some of those. So I planted a bunch of raisins, and we should get raisins before long.
Oh boy.
Okay, so then what that also means is sometimes you have to think about what you're planting, because if you're planting something that doesn't know how to grow or can't grow, then you're not going to get a result. And it isn't because the seed, soil, plant metaphor doesn't work. It's because you're planting something that isn't able to be grown. It's not within the range of possibility.
So I want to repeat, we're always using the law.
Yeah.
It's called the law of cause and effect. We're always using it, but often we're using it unconsciously. And we get what we think about most of the time, which too often is worrying,
Yeah.
thinking about what we don't want to happen, what we're afraid will happen.
Right.
So you really have to nip that habit in the bud. And every time you find yourself worrying about something that could go wrong, you turn it around and enjoy visualizing, thinking about what you want to happen. Because we are part of the one creative mind and we use it with our mind. So
Clearly.
our mind is always creative.
It's really funny. 60 years ago, I did the Werner Erhard EST training. It was called the EST training back then. And Werner said, or not Werner, the trainer that was actually doing his work, said, if you ever had an idea on a Friday, and then by Saturday you've come up with a dozen reasons why it probably won't work. And then by Sunday you've given up on the idea. By Monday you go back to the way things were. And I thought, yeah, we've all had that happen. What he said was, as soon as the things occur to you that tell you why it won't work, that is a list of things you're going to solve. Now you know you're on the right track, because until you're on that track, you don't notice what's on the track, and you're going to have to clear. So we have to be careful when we start thinking of the obstacles that we get excited about our list of things to overcome, rather than, oh, well, that's never going to work.
I'd like to share a quote from Ernest Holmes,
Well, I love it.
our founder.
Ernest Holmes, by the way, was the one we're working with. It's the first time I ever heard the idea of seed soil plant. So I know the idea has been around for as long as we've been around, or as long as life has been here on the planet, but he formalized it in a metaphor that I think really works.
Right. Bob's background had been with Unity Church, which teaches
Yeah.
the same
Yeah,
thing,
very similar.
but hadn't used that metaphor. And Ernest Holmes came after Unity and started religious science. We changed the name because it kept being confused with
Scientology.
And so now we are Centers for
Although I
Spiritual
look
Living.
a lot like Tom Cruise, I'm not Tom Cruise.
You do look a lot like Tom. All you need is some hair. Okay, so Ernest Holmes' quote from The Science of Mind, page 401. We must consciously know that we can use creative power. The more complete acceptance on our part, the more completely we shall be able to use this power for definite purposes. So we must consciously know, not just hope, wish, but consciously know.
And I want to throw something into the to the mix here that I don't think we've talked about before, but it occurs to me, is that you plant a seed. The seed is a thought. You plant it in the soil, which is consciousness, and you wait in consciousness for something to grow. Now, the question I have is, how many physical parts of your body and experience are you expressing that match that? One of the things that I've been doing recently, and it sounds like a small thing, but it actually turned out to be a big thing. I planted the seed, and while I'm planting the seed, my eyes are closed because I'm seeing this garden of a possibility, and I'm smiling.
The smiling is
I'm
important.
smiling, and I'm saying,
Yeah.
and as soon as I smile, I don't smile when I'm afraid. I don't smile when I have doubt. I smile as an affirmation of possibility. How many things can you do? When you get done, clap your hands and say it's done. Do
Oh,
some
I like
physical
that.
things that affirm in the physical world the physical outcome you're expecting to have happen. If you plant a worried seed, you'll have a worried song. And you want to be thoughtful about that. So what I've been looking at a lot lately is, do my physical behaviors match? Lately, I've been working on a book, and whenever I'm working on a book, creating artwork, there are a myriad of problems. And problems meaning things that I don't know how to do that I'll have to figure out how to do. And this is just creating graphic art, because every piece requires new things. And I find that the answers to how to solve the problems in my graphic art creation occur more easily when I smile, when I laugh, when a mistake happens. I think, oh, I can't believe I did that again. I said, oh, damn, what's wrong with you? That when I affirm physically that I'm on the right track, it works. And I want to tie that together with a quote I heard today, which is really wonderful. The director, the editor of Vanity Fair for the last 50 years, had a quote. He said, Success is built on the boneyard of little failures.
So
Success
true.
is built on the boneyard of little failures. We need to spend less time digging up the bones and realize that this boneyard of failures is the inventory that we have collected of how we need what we need to do. And the other thing that's true about that, if you've had a lot of little failures and you've overcome all of them, it means failures are just something that occurs rather than a stopping point.
Absolutely.
So think about when you affirm something, how much it means to you, smile into it, laugh if you can, think about the joy that it brings you. If all of the things that you do mentally are worrisome, you may end up with a worried plant.
I want to take that metaphor further. I'm reminded of a wonderful vegetable garden I planted
Oh,
in
yeah.
Reading with our church there. Our church decided to have a church garden plot, and someone donated the acreage, and it was fenced, and we just each had a 5 by 10 plot. And we were responsible for our own plot. And so we made the soil into mounds. We put weed cloth over it and just opened a part on the mound to put in a new seedling. Now, what we had to do, all we had to do for like 6 months, 5 months, was go weekly, make sure the water dripping was happening. We put drips with every plant. So it was really efficient for water, but we had to make sure we were watering our plant. Now, another metaphor for watering is to imagine and think about this dream, this thing that you want to experience, be, do, or have,
The joy of the harvest.
and enjoying it. Think about enjoying it when it manifests, and that is like watering it. You must pull up any weeds if you don't have weed cloth. I never had to pull up any weeds because I had weed cloth. But what those weeds can be are your negative thoughts. Your thoughts, oh, this is impossible. This will never happen. This is just woo-woo stuff. That's all weeds. That will choke out
Mhm.
your idea, your manifestation.
The weed cloth of affirmations.
Yeah, well, yeah, have affirmations. And so those are all metaphors with this plant idea. And man, when it sprang forth, I had the most prolific garden. I couldn't believe how much uh, vegetables I had. And that happened too with me when I first learned about treatment. And I had to really, I had a major concern that was really terrifying me. And that was how old was he at the time? I think my 3-year-old's health. And he had been sickly for a couple of years. And so when I heard this affirmative prayer idea, I thought, this is what I need. And I started using it. And boy, he just turned around so quickly and was so healthy so fast. After about 6 months, he was not sickly again and really made a believer out of me. And I also realized that all my worrying about him, he picked up. And it wasn't just me, it was me and my husband, different husband.
I don't worry.
But we were always, oh, is he going to get sick with this? Is he going to sick with that? And we were creating the fear in him that kept making him get sick. So that's what I mean when I say we're always using it.
Right.
And not with malice, but with ignorance. We're always using it with ignorance,
So,
not knowing any better.
so our brain is always working, and inside of our brain, if you listen carefully, it's always talking. And you can't always control the talking, but you can shape it by the things that you do. If you're having a conversation with yourself that isn't very good, and you get distracted from that conversation, then you pay attention to whatever the distraction is. I'm going to make another suggestion. Judith and I both taught a hypnosis course years ago for doctors and chiropractors and people practitioners. And so here's the idea. When you do your planting the seed and you imagine it and you feel it and you love it, have some music that you love in the background. And every time you go back to affirm it, put on that piece of music and just allow yourself to be saturated with the sound of the music. Now, here's what happens. It's really magical. When you put that music on without having said anything at all, that gets affirmed. If you think about a song that you've heard before with a movie, if you hear the song, you think of the movie. If you think of the movie, you may even hear the song in the background. We call it a paired experience. What you want to do is to pair as many things as you can with the positive conversation. And even when you're not having the conversation, that pairing continues. So I found myself after an affirmation some time back, after what we call treatment, which is in Unity, we would call it prayer, but affirming that something was going to happen. I was thinking, gee, I wonder when that's going to happen. And I heard in the background a melody that I like. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder, oh, that's right. That was the song I used. This particularly is helpful if you're dealing with a physical malady, if you're dealing with a physical illness. Then if you have something that is in your head, in addition to the worry that you won't get better, or I'm not better fast enough, or there's things I should be doing, having that melody and being able to smile into the melody is a powerful affirmation that this is working, that things are working for you.
That is so good, because I know you've participated in experiments where
Oh,
people
yeah.
have paired sound with something, and it
Well,
produced self-medication.
right at the University of Rochester years ago, where I worked there 17 years in the Department of Psychiatry. And we had a person with, trying to remember the disease, it's
Lupus,
lupus,
lupus.
very, very bad lupus. What you give with lupus is steroids. The steroids, unfortunately, create a moon phase. They create all kinds of physical problems, but without it, the lupus just gets worse. So we decided to do an experiment. Well, actually, I suggested an experiment, which we then did, which is we gave her the steroids that she would use, along with cod liver oil. That was a taste, and the smell of a perfume that her mother wore that she liked. She would sniff the perfume, have the cod liver oil, and then take the steroids. And we did that for 2 or 3 days. Then what we did is we cut the dose in half and gave her the same fragrance and the same cod liver oil. Why those things? We asked her something she didn't like. She said the cod liver oil. Something she did like, it was the fragrance. We gave her a positive and a negative so that it would balance the two possibilities that would normally be in consciousness. Anyway, the result of that was that in time we were able to reduce the steroids to about a third, which she could manage and get the same benefit. The brain is a chemical factory. It's a pharmacy. It's your pharmacy, and you don't go to jail because you use it. So that pharmacy can create all kinds of things. Well, actually, with hypnosis, I was able to work with a doctor and have a woman have a painless childbirth. How does that work? We actually work with hippophil, where you bleed constantly. Uh, anyway, this is the person would bleed at any site. So we actually went into the surgical suite, hypnotized the person, and stopped the flow of blood to the area they were going to do surgery.
I remember it ends with philiac, but I
Yeah,
can't remember.
hemophilia.
Hemophiliac,
Yeah,
yes.
I got to make sure I get it right. But the bottom line is, if we can control circulation of blood, if we can control pain, what else can we do?
So you're saying that if you pair music with your affirmations,
Yeah,
that you're doing a paired experience with that.
exactly.
So you just hear the music and it takes you right
You don't
back to
have to
that
have
idea.
both. When I was working with substance abuse, we did the same thing. I would say it's wonderful to be sober. It's wonderful to be clean. It's so good not to use. And we had music in the background every time. And then what I would do when the person would be on their way to the clinic and walk by a bar, they'd have a Walkman on. That's how long ago it was. And they'd be listening to the music and they would walk right by the bar. The problem we had up until then is they would get to the bar, stop, have a couple of drinks, and not come into treatment.
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
but the influence of around us, we're influenced by a lot of things. If we can actually support the influences that we want to have supported, we can use those to support us. And think of a movie without a soundtrack.
So a word of caution for someone who's been in this teaching for 50 years. Knowing this principle is not the same as using this principle, because we can get so used to thinking positively and think we're doing a spiritual mind treatment with all the 5 steps of acknowledging the power, that the power is God's, knowing that we're one with it, stating our intention as if it's already true, releasing it, and giving thanks. Those 5 steps of doing it are very, very important. Not
Yeah.
just, oh, I know this, all I have to do is intend it and my plant will grow. Not necessarily. You need to spend time, preferably before or after meditation, doing your treatment work. It's called spiritual mind treatment.
You know, we have somebody, a member of our center who, I don't know, I think she fell and had an accident and she went to the hospital and they did an x-ray and they found that she had cancer. And because of that, they were able to treat the cancer and she didn't die. Why I'm sharing that is that you can treat for something honestly, and the condition that presents itself may be on the path to the resolution that you're looking for or the conclusion that you want. It doesn't mean that it didn't work. I say treatment always works. That is, it takes me to where I need to go for the thing I need to have. In some cases, it could be a doctor. Unfortunately, I'll tell you where treatment doesn't work, and I need to be honest about it so that people don't come in thinking it's always going to work. We are all going to die.
It's preordained.
It's not on our schedule.
It's
Hopefully, we
preordained.
weren't thinking about it. It is going to come a time when you can do all the affirmations you want, and the condition that you're in is recognized by the soul as the condition that's required for you to make your
A
passage.
graduation.
A
It's a
graduation.
graduation.
So then what you do is you say, you know, this, I see what's happening here is that I want to affirm that I am well prepared. I have my American Express card with me and I'm ready to go and it's all going to be good.
It is, and very good. Good and very good.
And that's actually helped people when they, you know, the 2 things that I have found that help people with a transition is one, having the belief that it is going to be a journey that's worthwhile. And the other thing is having talked to people like Suzanne
Geisman.
Giesman, who continually contacts the people who've died and they come through, including Judith, who's had her son come through and say, hey, this is a great place. Don't try to get here
I'm
too
having
soon.
a great time.
But I'm having a great time.
I'm free.
Yeah, if you think about life everlasting, quite literally, and that you think that this is just part of the education, and you do need to graduate. Don't quit school before, because if you quit school before it's time, you have to come back and go to school again from the 1st grade, and that is not going to be fun. But if you think about it that way, it just makes this whole thing of life much more of an adventure, much more exciting. I get excited thinking about being 44. Yeah, 44 now.
Something like that.
Yeah, I was born in 1944, so I'm 44. I think about, you know, getting older and that I'm not getting closer, I'm getting further.
Further along.
Yeah,
I
and
like
I'm further along, and the journey doesn't stop at 90 or 100. The journey, then you simply graduate, and you know, I'm planning to graduate without a box.
I'd like to share a screen
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
showing people how they can support our ministry. Oh dear, where did it go?
Right here.
Okay, there it is. Share this screen.
Yeah, for those
Here we go.
for those of you that are supporting our ministry, which, and I know you are, we really appreciate it. You're supporting not only us and the work that we're doing, but we're supporting the people who, in many cases, are in much, much worse conditions than any of us could even imagine, who come on and watch us. In some cases, I've heard don't feel comfortable even saying who they are because their life has been so bad for them. And they benefit. So thank you for your support, for all the support that you get. And I'm sounding like PBS.
I know.
My members like you.
Yeah. Here on Sundays, we just have a certain number of people attending, but when we look at our YouTube channel, which is CSL Palm Beaches, we have hundreds of viewers. So
Yeah.
that's really exciting. And so if you care to donate, you go to our website, which is CSL Center for Spiritual Living, palmbeaches.org. And you will find here on the second button at top ways to donate. So now we'd like to together say this affirmation of abundance. My investment today is made with a full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. As I give, so do I receive. And so it is.
Now we're going to end with an affirmation.
Aren't you going to end the recording?
Yeah, where is it? Oh yeah. Where did it stop? Okay.